Oh, hi, Stacey.
Morning.
Good morning. So Tony can't make it, and Jane cannot make it. So we'll just give a minute or two to see if because I haven't heard either way from Irene. And just see if she's gonna pop in. Mm. Does anyone want to talk about the first project? Brenda, you sent me what you. Well, I'm considering it done personally, but how do you feel about your piece?
Um, well, one comment I got from someone, we're not naming names, but you can guess who, was the red on the ground.
Just a little too much like, okay, are we relating that to it's coming from the tree?
Yeah, well, I had to explain to her that's what it was because she
Yeah.
she said, "Well, what is that red stuff on the ground?" And I
It's
said,
a
"Well,
murder
the
scene.
yeah, tree, the blossoms falling off the tree." So
It's
you think it
less
needs to be less?
like less a big clump,
Yeah.
or that you have in the tree a similar, like,
More in the
similar
tree
bigger
or less?
clumps,
Okay, got it.
not individual specklings. That's something that I think we can all say when we saw our work together is that there's because we're primarily focusing on a new medium and technique with that medium. Like when I tend to suggest that anyone does that, because I think it's a good thing, um, that the subject is less of importance. Just,
Yes.
we know the composition could be better, and the flower is not spaced out like apples, or there's the edging of the tree in front of the sky. And the cool thing about oil painting not just oil painting but glazing especially, is that you can continuously refine. And so it'd be cool to maybe keep that out, and see how you feel about, actually I would like to go back into that, because you can so easily. It's somehow it's different than acrylic. There's something about that lusciousness
Yes.
that is more inviting than when you think of an acrylic and adding thicker, and it just feels like it's getting gummier and worse.
Yes, I know what you mean.
Feeling, yeah. So, um, the only thought that I had when I was looking at your piece, which I can, do you mind if I share it? I can do a screenshot with everyone.
Yeah, that's fine, doesn't matter.
I'll show just that in the top right, I felt like it got a little muddy, and that
Uh,
maybe another green glaze would
okay.
would just kind of feel, it just felt like a different gray green than anywhere else. It
Yeah.
felt like it's in the shadows, which is good. And I think you nailed the light on the ground, especially.
The more I look at it, the more I like it.
Good. Good. You should.
Mhm.
Dun, dun, dun. Here we go. So this is Brenda's work, good photograph. I really appreciate being able to see. Um, I also thought, and I have this problem myself as well, is that because you've got this wonderful atmosphere in the upper right, left here, that the blue, you need some lighter areas of the blue to really feel like um, it's more of that white
Okay, the same
sky.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And I would just do like a semi-opaque scribble here and there, uh,
Okay.
in those negative spaces.
Okay. Will
Yeah,
do.
so just like these, I actually like the larger shape, but that's my like a desire that I have usually for anything that's like flowers, or something where I think instead of those little dots, which are more realistic, Brenda, truly, but I would just make a little bit more of a larger shape, like that little bit off to the right of that branch there.
Okay.
There's some really lovely strokes for flowers that I would leave, but um, I mean, it's one or the other, or it's breaking this up. But depends. Share. I think Irene's here. Yes, yes, yes. Awesome.
Okay.
Mm. Sorry. Okay. um, yeah. Yeah. Any other comments with that? Good morning, Irene.
Hey, sorry, I'm late. Couldn't find the link.
Oh, because I sent it yesterday. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
I really like the softness in her piece.
Mm-hmm.
It's all
Yeah, it's a
very uniform.
classical approach with really considering atmosphere with your brush strokes. And it's nature, so why would you have a lot of hard edges? So that's going to lend well into the clouds for sure. Anyone else want to share? I mean, we're just started. So Jane and Tony are not here, so we're all here. It's fantastic. Just started to look at if there's anything, of a desire to discuss the tree before we look at clouds, because that project is like kind of up in the air. Is it done?
Yeah, I don't feel mine's done. I know I had to go back in with like sky holes, and I want the flowers in there, but I've just run out of time. Didn't expect to be in airports and in transit for 3 days this past week, so
That just from my perspective, that little dip out and back was doomed from the beginning. to have done it, to have said, oh, we're just going to go here for 3 days is like, it was crazy to begin with, Irene.
yeah, I know it's yeah, but well, I said yes because I wanted to do something for Sam because nothing was booked for March break or Christmas. So yeah, whatever.
All good intentions. It was the other night I was doing a evening class for the York Society, and the lady who runs it, well, there are two ladies who kind of run it, and then the one lady wasn't supposed to be there, but she was there, and she was like miserable the whole time because she was supposed to be in Cuba, and everyone was like, when was your flight? And she's like, now. It was really sad, and I actually didn't quite catch, like, if no thumbs up Zoom, no, if it was due to weather or whatnot. It probably was, but I'm afraid to fly right now, actually. Like,
Well, then you heard about the earthquake yesterday in BC?
No.
Oh yeah, there was an earthquake just northeast of Vancouver, and they're expecting aftershocks. And yeah, I'm flying in there Wednesday, or no, Tuesday. Yeah.
I know you have all these plans, but do you think maybe?
No, just doing it.
Oh, Irene.
Yeah.
Well, I guess, it's better to be taking risks. Creative people are used to that, but we still want you back next week.
Yeah, the way I see it is I could just cancel everything and stay home and be depressed, and nothing can happen, and I can get hit by a car walking to the corner store, or I could just get on the plane and go to earthquake territory and ski down a mountain. It's fine.
The latter is just sounding like a little bit more threatening than before. But again, I'm glad that you're here, and just thinking about the schedule, actually, so I'm away in Cornwall next week, so that's where I had a thing. So I think I've heard back from everybody that the following weekend is okay for rescheduling, and thank you for that. I feel like I've lost time. So Stacy, did you want to talk about the Japan Garden, or
for mine?
that you have it out? Yeah.
Oh, I haven't done anything to it since. I was just saying I need to work on mine. Like, mine isn't finished, so
Because out of the corner of my eye, I can see, I'm just going to spotlight you. Yeah. Is that you have great sky holes. And we talked a little bit about how they just seem too much in a way. That I think you could glaze green over some of those just to make it like, when there's still leaves, but they're not covering entirely.
Right.
So just to minimize, because it looks like a constellation, which it's really pretty and magical. And you could leave it like that. It'd be even more stylized. But if you want them not to be so prominent, kick back like a good 6.
Yeah. And they're uniform in size. So I was going to take out some, make some smaller.
Mm-hmm. Or even just something through them to like break.
Right.
Not through, but thinking about a different size leaf that's just making it more like a different shape than a circle.
Right. Yeah.
I don't want to say a heart or anything, but just something interfering with that overall shape.
And I was going to glaze to make this a little bit more green because it's a little yellow, a little too bright.
Yeah. And use your rag. I mean, so we're going to need rags today. Okay. So have that handy because especially with clouds. Oh my goodness. It's going to be your favorite tool. You think brushes, people are like, what kind of brush do I use for clouds? Rags. I wanted to, and Alec, did you want to talk about, I know you were done, but if you
I did go back to it and did a few things. So, I wanted to break up a little bit more the red on the ground.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I went back with a little bit more yellow to try to break it up. It's 98% done. I know I have to glaze that because that's extremely bright.
Yeah. But
I have to wait.
Glaze will do it.
Yeah, a little glaze will do it. But yeah, it's definitely different than how I'm used to working. And then, okay, I did that, and I have to glaze, and now I have to wait a week to do that.
Yes. Your light is just stunning. It really is stunning.
I love that the sky is more purpley. It lends to like this moodiness of the piece with the sky, the brightness, like it's at dusk, like it's the sun setting.
Yeah, this is where everyone, this is for everyone, but like Alec, we were only using, a primary palette, and I suggested that intentionally because you can make all these colors with, your alizarin, ultramarine, and a yellow. But if you wanted to push that dusk situation, you could bring in alizarin with a bit of Indian yellow and do like an orange in that light a little bit here and there, like so that it's not so cool yellow green. Like you could warm up some areas. I mean, this is not that you need it, but just like ideas going forward is now you can look at the whole amount of oils that you have and start to push different colors here and there. Because I think that the lighting is stunning. So whatever you do for everyone, again, look for your transparent colors, just so you're not going too much too quick.
Yeah.
Because I feel so. Thank you, Alec. I feel like, I already posted mine, so you know it. I went too dark, and that was kind of intentional at some point. So, like, I'm like, okay, I'm glad because it was too light. Now it's too dark, and that all that relative back and forth is. I'd like to go in and kind of do like a semi opaque, like a zinc white in some areas, so that there's a little bit more value.
I had a question about the glazing. Now, like when it's completely dry, say it's completely dry, and you want to go over and glaze.
Yeah.
Is it just with would you always go in with the oil, like a lot of oil and a little bit of paint, or would you go in with your medium?
Okay, let's review this fat over lean business because it applies no matter whether you're doing everything in one sitting or it's over weeks, because no one's oil here is dry. No one. It's touch dry, but it's not dry. like acrylic is the similar thing, right? Everyone thinks, oh, acrylic dries within an hour. No, it doesn't. It probably takes weeks. We just don't, even in layers, we don't see that there's still moisture or, some sort of dewiness on the inside. Like acrylic doesn't clarify as quickly as people think. But okay, so fat has everything to do with oil content. And your tube of paint, let me do this, is this is not as fat as oil paint can be. This is oil with as much pigment as you can put in a tube so that it's still movable and you can squeeze it out. Because there are, and in different brands, you will feel different viscosities. Old Holland, which Irene, you're using, right? It's a very stiff paint. They completely put as much pigment as they possibly can in there. So you would normally add more oil than, say, someone who's using Van Gogh or like you would typically use more oil. And that's the point, that they're sort of like at the very top of artist quality. So the people that use their paint expect it to be as much pigment as they can possibly put it in without it being a solid. Now mediums, they're still considered fat, even if there's some mineral spirit in there. But the only way you can get lean is by using pure mineral spirits, because they're the only lean out of all of them. Now, if no one in the group was using pure mineral spirits, right? So when you use liquid, which it's like a gel medium and there's a little bit of oil in there, and then there's like that alkyd quick dry, and then there is often some odorless mineral spirit in there. That's different. That's like an exception to this, just using oil or just using mineral spirits, because it has an alkyd. If you start using it, you should use it all the way through. Whole process, in less amounts and more oil as you go into the fatter zone of things. And if you don't start with liquid, you would never use it in successive layers, because that alkyd is making that third or fourth layer dry faster than what is underneath. So it's not just about fat over lean, it's about what mediums you're adding to quick dry something, and that would be in the beginning stage. Either all the way, but never, I'm just going to introduce this now.
So if you have used it, like I did use the alkyd and then I went to using Gamsol, but I've been using it all the way through. So then that would be okay to keep using it.
Yes, and you should.
So a bit of each. All the way through.
And then you can continuously add more oil as you go.
That makes sense. Thank you.
I'm going to stop there, and then, of course, please ask if we can all talk it through, but I don't want to over talk it and get it all jumbled again, because it really is. I'd say the theory is not the problem. I know that as we paint more with oils, you're going to theoretically understand it, right? We just within drawing times, and that's actually no different than acrylic. You have to work thin to thick. We don't want to, do a really thick layer and then something thin on top. What I'd like to talk about today, we're going to sketch out our clouds and then start in. I want to do the whole session today on the underpainting, because that's something we talked about, that the more time we spend there, more detail we have on that stage, the kind of process it gets a bit of it kicks you forward, because you're not trying to adjust it in later layers, right? So we're going to do that. But I also want to talk about how much medium and really discuss consistency and how that feels for everyone. Okay. Because it is a feeling. There is no formula. Brenda and I were talking over email about there are ratios given. Some companies will say no more than 2 drops, 20%. What do you do with that? So no one is measuring out in the real world. So Graham or whatever company can say that to cover their ass legally. It's like using that retarder medium with acrylics. They say no more than 10, 15, 20%. But that's because it is a chemical that's changing your formula. And that's no different than with oils. And there's so many other mediums that are weird with oils too. There's not as many as acrylics, but there's still weird stuff out there. Like there can't, I have found it recently in my packing, cold wax. Like that could be something in the future that I'd love to get into with you guys, or just like whoever is into oil in a couple of months. It's just that there's, again, they'll say this is the ratio, but it's really about the feeling of things. Oh, you know what? Their ratio doesn't feel like enough, or it feels like too much for what you want and what you're expecting and hoping for. That's the truth. That is the truth. It's all about being sued. My painting didn't work out, but you probably didn't use just 20%, did ya? And they will somehow x-ray your artwork and prove it in court these days.
It sounds very simple, like to me, because I've done watercolor for a few years now, it's very similar to that. I was so frustrated in the beginning. It's like, well, how much pigment, how much water? And I still don't know. Like, I just feel it, and then I paint with it that way.
Bingo, baby. Like, when you get familiar with your medium, whatever that is, the brand also, you get to a point where if I add this, it's going to dry like this. It's going to, because watercolor will dry later, and like, I think that is our job, is to understand that. That's, where it's not just about, I'm going to paint a pretty picture. This is about how you're going to paint and like how that process feels for you. So it's not frustrating, and that you get more insight into what you can expect, how to make it work the way you like it. I wanted to show you something that I found. This I painted, this is acrylic, I believe, or charcoal or something, or it might be ink. Anyway, this is canvas with no gesso. So this raw canvas. And this is way back, like I was probably 20. And I did this intentionally because I was told, you're using oil, you have to use a gesso. And I was like, why? Because I really like painting on raw canvas. This was white paint. Pretty crazy, eh? It is so brown, like unbelievable. And then look at all that oil that's leaked out. So this over time will just like a moth, would have eaten it and left little particles. That will happen eventually, because this is, there's no paint on this side. That's just oil.
And there's nothing you can do about that, right? Like there's nothing, like that is impregnated, like no cure for that.
Yeah, I can't. You could grab soap and wash it now. No. But yeah, isn't that interesting? Like, so this is like a white square that I painted here on this side, and then the other side, that's the oil seeping. It doesn't smell rotten, but I mean, that's pretty gross. Like, that is not nice looking in person at all. You can't even convince somebody that was intentional the way you wanted it. No. So I'm glad I have that. Like, I also did some other surfaces just for what it's worth. I'm just going to test this, and then in 2 weeks we can look at it. So this is gloss gel medium. I'm going to make some strokes on that. This is dry media ground. It's a surface that I love, so I don't know. It might be like nails on a chalkboard painting on it, but I thought I'd give it a shot. And then this is Nepheline gel, and I can't paint on this right now because it is so not dry. It's just I did it about a week ago, but that won't be good to paint on until I guess a month. I was watching some videos of because of the grounds, the conversation we've had with grounds, and you know that our phones listen to us, so I'm getting more videos on artists and their their process, which is cool. This one lady who even just gesso, like this isn't a thicker texture medium or anything, but if it's acrylic at all, she says you should wait a month. And I would agree with that. It's just no one wants to hear that.
Right.
No one who's taking like a weekly class wants to hear that. You know, oh, I have to prepare a month before what? So, but anyway, just, you know, when we were really trying to follow rules, it should be preparing your stuff a month in advance. So I'm going to just put those aside because I'm going to use a gessoed one. And let's do a little vote. Who's decided to use this one? One here. Okay, Brenda. And oh, okay, super. And Stacey, you're going to do this one?
Yes.
Okay. I'm definitely going to use the colors for this. So I'll use this composition.
Well, is everybody doing the other composition than me?
Yeah.
Maybe I'll do that then too, so we can all do.
We might have time to do both because we have 2 hours, right? We'll see. But I'll start with this one. Okay, put this aside. I'd like to just, I didn't suggest getting your sketchbooks out, but if you have them handy, I thought it would be really good just to all together look at the shapes here. So this composition would look better horizontally. And in Art Mass, we did a project at some point, I think it was Art Mass, where, say, I don't even want to personally put this land. I think that is so boring to put like a little strip in the bottom. Like to me, it's too restricting. So personally, I'm just going to go right into just the sky. And to help with that, there's a nice little grid system that you can do where it's like, okay, the clouds in the distance are closer together in height, and they're going to be more stacked because of the perspective. So I'm just going to put in guiding lines that go a little bit wider each time. Something like so. To really guide me that these clouds here are pretty big. And then these ones down here are much smaller and wider, and they kind of create like a group form. And there is the subtlety of that motion. Really want to push that. And this takes up a lot of space here. And then where's the light source? It is, I'm going to get a little pencil here and just be like, it's backlit, which is fantastic for mood. It's backlit right smack in the middle. So it doesn't matter the temperature back here, which is warm. The value is what really matters when we're just starting to do the underpainting. And it's not bright, like just because this area here feels like, oh, there's sun there. If it's not about that, right? Actually, at any point, it's about temperature. So this might be yellow, but it's not your light source. And all this will be cool with spots of yellow. But really just get a sense of your main shapes. I'm gonna make this darker. So just something easy, like a little no tan like that. We're very, very, very clear about kind of the direction. I see weather in here, so I'm just making a brush stroke guide for myself of like brush strokes and how to show the movement. I'm really enjoying doing that. Like, I'm just thinking of Emily Carr so much these days. I don't really like impressionism so much. I'm thinking also about like what I'm going to take away from all of the studies in the last 2 years, because I want to do more master classes, but I want to now start choosing works that I like, not just, oh, this is an interesting time period. And this has been on my mind since the place that I got sick, which was the McMichael Gallery 2.5 weeks ago, because the show was just spectacular, but I normally wouldn't have gone. So now and then I was in the bookstore, and now I'm thinking like, I really wanted to put together a class based on women and, the art world and whatnot. And then I thought, but I don't want to just do all the women. I want to choose just the women that actually have a style that I think is going to support me. So I'm being more selfish in that. And I'm not going to apologize for it. I think it makes more sense to actually look at the art that you want to learn from. Oh. I had put out lamp black. Does anyone have a question about what blacks to use? I don't know what you have. Lamp black is a mixing black. It's like a very warm black. Mars is a cool black. So if you had the choice, I would suggest lamp. I'm going to go over a couple of notes that I had written down. I couldn't print them, so I'm just going to read them. I had texted them to myself. All right.
So do we black and white?
Yes, love, yes.
Titanium or zinc?
Titanium. Okay. So just some notes, things that are pretty obvious, but then just some things to think about with clouds being a subject is that there is no difference between painting clouds or anything else. Clouds are just a shape. So what we're going to look at is value and edges. We're taking the color out of it, which is good. So it's going to be a glacis and monochromatic. So there was on that printout, the black and white version that we can reference. So they're just shapes. And let's not let our brain complicate it more than that. We want to identify our light source. So that's how we're going to start. I'll demonstrate sketching this in, and then we're going to start with the dark areas and then move into the lights to get our midtones. We're not going to work on highlights until the very end. So basically, we never want to see white right now until a certain point, because that will come in very, very end. So something, we have to identify the very things that are the lightest and brightest, where that sun is in behind, and everything else, there would be no white.
Sure, just to be difficult because that's the way I am. I don't even have black.
Oh.
So I'll have to just use my darkest values, I guess, or my darkest pigments.
You can make black. Do you have a
Ultramarine and burnt sienna?
Yeah, I can try to make that with what I have. Yeah.
I like that suggestion, ultramarine and burnt sienna. Do you have
that like a Payne's gray almost? Yeah.
And everyone is welcome to do that if you'd prefer. I mean, it will feel nicer than using a black, but like I have Payne's gray. It depends on what you have, but burnt sienna and ultramarine blue is just beautiful. Yum, 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 yum.
I think my favorite is magenta or alizarin with phthalo or viridian green.
Oh, for a dark. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Because it can be kind of purpley.
Mm-hmm. All right. So just again, some more notes here. So we're gonna establish the overall shape. Remember that clouds are closer together and smaller near the horizon. So we can't forget about those, even though they're really subtle. Clouds are not solid, so we're going to keep the edges soft. It's really about the shadow, the highlight, and the value. So we'll start with the darkest, and then we will go and make those midtones. I think our brush strokes are important here too. So even though we're wiping things off, you can still have direction to create implied texture. Because not all clouds are poofy and fluffy. They seem to be merging into each other. So gradients and implied movement texture is something we can control here. So this is more technical that I just wrote down. This is like from a class I did a long time ago. Like it was capturing the colorful clouds. So these are notes from when I was studying Turner's work. That the lower part of a cloud is typically darker, and we can see that in this reference. And that the shadow part needs to be dark, but not too dark and not, too light, because that's when we start getting into not using color right now. There's going to be such crazy subtleties from one to another. They're so delicate, which is why I thought it'd be really good to spend a lot of time on this underpainting and really get that nuance. The bottom part of a cloud, as it would be darker, it also would have softer edges, because it's usually the top part of a cloud that has like slightly sharper edges, and you can see that in this reference as well, which is great. Okay, anyone want to add thoughts about the reference photo, just observations? that we can all benefit from. Share, shout out. So I'm going to put this here.
So do we want to start like we did last time with very thin, or this doesn't matter?
Oh, no, it has to be thin.
Okay.
It's not just fat over lean, it's thick over lean. So if you have liquid or an alkyd, I suggest to use that. And if you're not using that, if you have Gamsol, then just use the Gamsol. I'm using my old palette because everything was mostly dry. So I'm not going to be the best for showing mixing. I wonder if I have, so I'd like to talk about consistency.
I'm really interested to see how this will develop in terms of showing that, like that weather, that those, like that rain coming down.
Yes, I see that, and I'm definitely. Sorry for all the crunching. Okay. I can't wait to have a reason to buy like a glass cutting board or something. You know, using oil on a glass palette is so fantastic because it's easy to clean. You just use a scraper. And tin foil is like, I don't mind making do, but it doesn't feel great. All right, just this is something actually like at the end of your sessions, whatever you're painting, to so whether it's on a glass palette or whatnot, is to scoop up the large chunks of things and then put them in a nice section so that you can still use them. And obviously scraping up like a large chunk of it means that you're probably going to have that a little longer, because the more in a big lump it is, the less it'll dry so quickly. Oh,
I made the mistake of leaving the jar with the walnut alkyd medium. Well, the little jar where I had poured it, I left it open.
and then it turns to like hard jelly, eh?
Yeah, so it's now a hard jelly. So he's like, okay, I learned.
Yeah. And oil does a similar thing. So if you ever leave oil out, like, because I was using these cups, right? It still turns to a strange jelly. And actually, I will use this. Okay. I can't stand the smell of this medium. It is definitely solvent based, and so putting out a little bit is better than having the jar open, which is what I had been doing before. Okay, so just focusing on the grayscale here. Alrighty, so I'm going to go in with lamp black. And I want it to be, I'm not going to start out real gung-ho and strong. So I'm going to be reducing that so that it's more of a mid-tone. You can still see through. And I'm going to come in and make just those large shapes. Starting at the darkest area and sort of pulling it in. Irene, are you using a different surface now?
I got the gesso panel.
Great.
Yeah, I bought that. Yeah, I'm done with the paper.
I again I had forgotten about this, but I'm going to try the paper at some point. This is that little sample book that this was I didn't remember that it was actually for oil paint. So I'm gonna do a little thing on it so that I get a feeling of what you experience.
Yeah, I feel like I'm definitely going to use that. I'm going to use it for plein air and stuff like that. But it's I chose it because I thought, oh, I don't need to do more experiments on big panels because it's a storage issue for me.
Hallelujah. I'm glad to hear it. And look at Mr. I'm going to paint 5 times larger than what is suggested, just dropped in to say hello.
Oh.
Hi, I don't want to disturb you guys, but I'm sorry I couldn't make this morning's meeting. I was dealing with a crappy situation at work, really crappy situation. I'm so sorry. But and I'm not here. I'm not here for next week's makeup session because I'm going to Antarctica. Yeah. Right. Yeah, very exciting. But yeah, I'll check in. I really wanted to catch this class, so I'm just so sorry I couldn't. But Shah will send the recording and stuff like that. But I just wanted to say it was nice to hang out with you guys again, and I missed you today. But I'm sure I'll be seeing you in upcoming classes for sure, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, and I think that just looking at what is going to be the next technique of interest, whether that I think is more alla prima, like plein air approach, right? Like painting quickly,
Yeah.
would be really fun. And in a couple of months, I'll set it up. Even if it's a small group, I'm actually probably going to start with a small group in my new space and not promote it so much, just to keep it tight for a while, because you guys have been very understanding that I'm dipping my toes back in as well. So
no, it's fine. I look, I've really enjoyed this, and this is the momentum I needed to start. I was struggling to break through into oils and to get that momentum, and it did just that. And I felt I've learned a lot. I felt I would have learned more today, but that's my problem. But no, this is great. I really want to do more oil classes, Shah. I hope you do. Do some more because I'm totally into it.
awesome.
I just love the medium.
Mm-hmm. It is. It's beautiful, although it smells.
I don't even mind the smells. I kind of like them. I'm going to go to full on solvents because I'm kind of kidding. No, I'm kidding around. But
well, bring us back a penguin.
Yes, of course. Yeah, actually, this is the last trip of the season, and they nickname it the Dead Penguin Trip because I will be seeing. Yeah, this is the time of year where you see the penguins that aren't going to make it for the winter, basically. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty brutal what they go through down there. It's just the way it is. I'm not looking forward to that aspect of it. But wildlife wise, apparently you see a lot of whales this time of year because they're all getting ready to migrate back north. And stuff like that. So it's quite spectacular for wildlife. I'm actually very excited. It's going to be I think a remarkable trip. And I hope I get lots of material for painting. I'm going to take some watercolors down. I don't know how useful they're going to be down there. Actually, I might. So I'm going to see you tomorrow anyway. So maybe I will have a quick chat about.
You need to bring vodka.
Yeah, I'm not drinking. I've been off the booze since.
It's not for drinking. Vodka won't freeze.
I see.
Watercolor paints and vodka. Yeah.
You can actually paint using vodka, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good.
Or gin, any clear spirit. Yeah.
Yeah, gin. Prefer gin. Okay, that's kind of amusing to me as well. All right, that's good. We'll talk more about that tomorrow, Shah. I kind of maybe want some, advice on what material to take down. But anyway, I'm sorry I missed today's class, and take care, everyone, and I'll see you all next time, right?
Yeah.
You.
Okay.
Stay safe. I'll remind you that tomorrow. But just with traveling. Anyway, love you so much.
Sure. I'll send some pictures, but I won't have access to the internet while I'm down there, so it'll be after I come back.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Be there. That is a once in a lifetime trip, truly. Like
it really is.
It's like a $20,000 trip,
Yeah, and I'm so privileged to get the opportunity to do it and not have to pay for it. So I mean that's amazing.
Yeah.
But I'm going to be very present while I'm down there. I think in case of emergencies, they have Starlink on the ship, but it's not a general access thing, right? All right.
Well, thanks for stopping in, Tom.
Thank you. Sorry to miss the class, and I'll see you guys next time, okay?
Yeah, I'll send you the recording tonight. Okay.
Take care.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
All right, I'm going to spotlight back here. Isn't that so wonderful that you can have an interruption, a really nice interruption and not be like, oh, my paint's drying. Like, doesn't it feel really good? Because if this was acrylic, I'd be like, okay, that layer, we have to now wait for it to completely dry. You can't glaze until it's like, you can't glaze when it's tacky. So I just think that these little observations are fantastic. Okay, so I've put down the dark in a very scuffy, this is scumbling, right? Very scuffy way. And it is, I have to say, not moving so well. So this is where you can either dip your rag into oil, because there's already alkyd in here. And then I will start to wet that out and soften that out. I'm going to be doing a lot of this, actually. And I can then paint into it again. And move that in little circles to get like some nice inconsistencies in there. I had started to put directional lines where I really like that weather and I don't want to forget about it, but it's too strong. So I'm just going to switch that out. Sushi, I'd rather you not in here. Please go. Thank you. So darker on the bottom and then wetting out, moving up. Okay, this is where we're just looking at just the dark shapes. And so this cloud, for example, in the middle here, there are so many variations of white and dark, and we're not copying the photo. So you want to be able to create all of those individual values in there, or shapes. So there's this one, this little shape here, this little shape here, this shape here, but they all have a smoky connection. There's all soft edges. And so just using your rag, not trying to copy the photograph, but to just get those subtle variations in there. And try not to worry so much about having it to be the right dark value right now. Just about getting, I'd say the edges are more important. Does anyone have a bad feeling about the transparency or concentration of your mixture or the medium? I'm pretty sure I have like a 50-50 mixture, which feels really transparent, but in a good way. Like I'm going slow.
Charlena, I went because I couldn't see what you were doing. I just went ahead and now I've got way too much dark all over.
Okay. Oh, all over?
Yes.
Sorry.
because
Can you hold it up
I'm
again?
carried away. Sorry. So now I'm sort of, but it's all right. It doesn't matter. It's
Pulling it back. You're spending just as much or even more time with that rag is good, Brenda.
Yeah, but you can only wipe off so much, eh?
And dip into the oil
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Maybe it's not enough oil.
more. Yeah, you should be able to pull the paint right back.
Really?
Yeah. Here, I'll show you. I'll show you. Because this is just a gessoed board, right?
Yeah, it was a purchase panel that was gessoed, so it's not heavy.
But still, you should, Brenda, you should be able to take it right out.
Wow. Okay.
So more oil on your rag.
And rub hard.
Yeah.
But I shouldn't be using paper towel kind of rag.
Oh, now that's something I don't know if we've talked about.
No, because it leaves bits on your panel.
Yes.
Oh.
Any scrap fabric is the best.
Yeah, well, mine is a lot different than yours.
That's okay.
Well, you're just working in reverse, pulling out the lights. And that is okay. And that's also a different approach, you know, to some people really like that, where you put an all over and then you start to remove like that. That can be very satisfying. And I think it has a lot to do with how you think, how does your brain register, and is it better in addition or removal?
Well, and I work fast, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, can you put the oil right on the canvas?
Yep.
Maybe that would work better for me.
So oil removes oil. Okay. So
Right.
if you ever want to remove something, you're using oil. And then if you're adding, because it depends. Are you removing to leave it like that, or are you going to be, removing to then maybe work around within that area? And that's when you would use the alkyd instead of adding more oil. Like, it's okay that you have some oil. People make their own mediums all the time, liquid and a bit of oil or whatnot. No, sorry, not you. I have scratching at my door, and it's that kind of sneaky scratching. Like they know they're not supposed to be doing that. But do cats ever listen?
No.
They're going to have such a hard time with this move. I'm trying not to think about it.
Have they moved before?
Yeah. Yeah. And they get, these two have been together here, in a way that is better. They get along. They used to hate each other. And they don't hate each other now, which is fantastic. But my friend has 2 cats as well. So it's always harder for a cat to come into another cat's domain.
Yeah.
Mm.
I am going to get common cat collars because they work. I learned that with Cosmo.
What is that?
It's a cat collar, and it's got pheromones embedded into it. It's phenomenal, and it works. It's almost like doping them up, without using, drugs. Yeah, on Amazon, it's just, I think it's advertised like calming cat collar, and then I also have their collars in case they start to want to escape. I don't want to let them out ever, but if they're freaked and they want to run out the door or something, then at least they have a collar. Okay, I'm just going to ask everyone to just take a moment and start looking at, once you have that overall large shape, it's not even about it being dark enough right now, just that I'm basically using the rag for all of these secondary midtones. So I'm coming in, I'm pulling in with the brush and then softening out those edges as I go, not taking for granted that, I can do it later just because the paint's wet. It's all about right now building an atmosphere. And softening edges changes your values. So I'm working kind of in the frame around the center. And then once you start getting into the midtones, like here, well, I have to smudge it out to get the right value. But if those 2 shapes start to merge, then one of them is not light enough or dark enough. So I don't think this is dark enough. So I'll continuously build that up, but it is going to dictate that this up here isn't dark enough. And yet, as we know from the first one, we don't want to go too dark. There were areas, I recall everyone had their sort of own frustrations with, the tree could have been darker. And that's fair. But with clouds, it's never going to be black, never completely black. So we don't want to go using pure black paint right now, or anything that's so terribly opaque. And that down here, these should be thinner, wider, closer together. You can see how, so I'm just going to put down a black stroke here so you can see how that's too dark. Like it's just visually doesn't feel right. And that could be a good thing, actually. Like at some point, put down like a real strong full strength, or close to full strength, so that you have a gauge of like what is too dark. I am now just dipping my rag into my palette. That's it. Mm-mm. So I just, again, on value down in this bottom corner, this is a great time to start establishing like a more specific value. Oh, shoot. That this can't be white in the corner. It can't be, because this center is the lightest and the brightest. So I'm going to almost like just a little whisper of a wash there. And that is going to help me refine the value around it, where I can start to say, this has to be way more of a dramatic shift here. And what I thought was enough in this little rain spot is not. Now that's still too dark, but it was definitely too light. So value and then atmosphere. What does the edges look like? Even if it's really dark, he's just padding just to soften up. It's really effective.
Both my kids are home this weekend, and I can hear my youngest singing in the shower.
Oh.
Something I just now realized that I missed.
Oh.
Or how much I missed it, rather.
Oh, I bet. And don't say anything, though.
Oh, no.
Then you might not like self-conscious, not that your kids would be around you, but then you're just like, next time you go to have a shower, you're like, oh, people can hear me.
Yeah.
Do I like that? All right. So then just assess your, like, even take a picture on your phone or look at this, in a mirror or whatnot. And just at this point, you should have at least established your darks. Not at this very minute, but that's your goal, is to establish your darks. And then start looking at your edges of those darks. There's only a few shapes that really have distinctive edges. Not trying to get it perfect, because you will be more likely having to do it again, but just to get a sense of those little ins and outs of the overall shape. Sounds windy out there. Hmm. Once you get into that center part, I would suggest adding white, so that it's not just using so much medium to thin out, to adjust the value. So you're actually now intentionally using a gray, and it probably is going to be lighter than you think. And oil doesn't dry any different, which is nice, but it still is more of a, still on the value sense of things. It's generally lighter than you think. It just usually with skies, that ends up being a common issue. And remember, there's no need to clean your brush ever. You can just wipe it off. So in these like really light, they call high key areas, I am using pure white, and I'm pulling the black into that where I need it to be. It's a lot of brush cleaning though, because as soon as your brush gets sort of tinted with anything other than the white, you kind of want to wipe it off again. I'm just gonna talk about like where I am in this sort of stage and demo is that this cloud up here, I'm again focusing on the dark parts of it, darker or darkest. And this is why we all love oil, is that you can, because you're going to have a harder top edge, and then that's when you just smudge this out on the bottom. And that's what makes it end up looking like a cloud. But you don't have to bring in white necessarily, right? So I mixed a gray. This, I think I used this reference for a class maybe 2 years ago. And it's only now that I'm realizing it. And it's kind of crazy because it looks exactly the same, but in grayscale. It's going to feel weird when I start adding color and be like deja vu. I used to roof with my stepdad when I was like 12, 13. So I think about roofing a lot in when it comes to layers. So like when I'm putting down this gray and I want, because there's going to be areas where there's real subtle whites, I'm going to clean my brush, come in and add the white, and then continuously look at what is in front and in front and in front. So I'm quite literally painting in those steps. Okay. I feel the need to soften. And that's just like an intuitive moment. And a lot of people use mop brushes. That's the round goat hair. And you certainly can. I've destroyed really nice goat hair brushes though, they're not easy to clean. This baby will never, ever, ever, I've tried so hard, never get really clean. So anyway, what I have learned is you can really use any soft hair brush. So this still has good spring, but it is soft. And then just coming in And in still considering a shape and having some contour elements, just to come in and tickle any hard edges you want to soften out, really wiping that brush off quite a lot, often. So you can always add hard edges, but this is the time to soften out. Sushi, I'm going to ignore you. In the recording, you'll see. Okay, so let's mark what time is it? 11:25. The cats were pawing at each other in a cute, cute way. I could hear their little. They sound like pigeons, not cats. I'm gonna have to save a clip of that because they don't often play like that. It's cute. Does anyone want to do a check-in?
Mine's a hot mess now.
Okay.
Like I don't seem to be getting like different cloud poofiness. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
I'm having a hard time with like, I don't know if it's because it's really oily. What, like when I wipe up the rag, it like wipes everything off instead of just softening it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, try brush now.
Try softening with the brush.
Yeah. And I will give you just a close up here. Okay. So you probably like this is really oily and I can see it. Like I can see it. Yours is very luscious, like so. In those strokes, right? So now it's just using a softer brush and actually letting your strokes dictate certain areas and using whatever is excess to move that around.
I've got a lot of oil as well. I got the same problem as Stacy's got.
Yeah.
Got a lot of medium, a lot of oil, a lot of everything moving around.
So this then the alternative here is that you take your rag and you remove some of that oiliness, and then you dip right into paint without anything, and you start to work that paint back into that area. There's just enough that you, even though you're not wiping off 100%. So you're just now painting into just enough medium. And especially in like those darker areas, lighter areas, you can use your white a little bit more raw because you probably have medium already on.
Yes. So there's a quick drying medium, and there's also a solvent free thinner, and I combined the two.
Yeah.
And I don't know that was the right thing to do.
Well, technically it is.
True. I mean, I get that that's what it's there for, but
like you don't have to use it. Yeah.
Like maybe I could have just used the thinner instead of the medium.
Yes. Oops.
I guess, and I'm also afraid of going too dark.
Squint. It didn't look too dark to me.
Okay.
But you want softer edges for sure. Like on the dark shape. That was the only, I was like, that's the next step for you. So like I said, with the brush, if you're actually picking up, almost going down to the gesso again, then just start gently. And this, I was trying to, with my camera, capture this, that you just like gently adding paint. I mean, we're all working quite small. So coming in and working that into an area. See it again, you have to wipe off, but there's already enough medium there to just have it not so oily and a little bit stiffer so you can feather.
Can you hear my son and my husband? Do I need to shut the door?
I can hear them, but it's not bothering me. Because I can hear stuff my house too. So no, Stacey, I've heard loud. You like it's been a while that I felt the need to mute somebody and you were not there. So I would ask you, I wouldn't just mute you, but there's some like larger groups. It's almost like some people they don't like they want you to hear how interesting their house is. And I'm like, no. It doesn't come off across that way very well on video.
And I think my husband's just excited that my son is home and they can talk
Yes.
soccer and they can talk
I love it.
all the things that I listen to, but I have no idea, so I can't contribute to the conversation.
Well, I bet hockey was one recently.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they'll talk about that too.
Canadian response to that was pretty wild. Because I don't engage in sports at all, but that's all that I saw was like this reaction. Just wild.
When I went to college here at Michigan State, we would get season hockey tickets. So my husband loves hockey, and then my son, he gets season hockey tickets for his school too. So they enjoy hockey together.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I would go we were dating at the time, and my friends, and we would just people watch. I can't follow the puck.
Yeah.
I've actually experienced that where I was just like, oh my gosh. And I guess that's why people want 70-inch screen TVs or they go out to sports bars and stuff, right?
Right.
See it on the screen. But yeah, regular home, the way they used to be, I gave it a shot way back. But yeah, when you don't know what's going on, you feel stupid.
It's so much better, I find, to watch it at home where there's a commentator explaining what's going on. You go in person and it's like,
Yeah.
Oh.
And they highlight the book.
And there's the lines on the TV to follow.
Yeah.
Oh, so your perspective, and then also if you're live, you're not getting all of that, and you're probably sitting farther back.
Yeah. And if you're sitting farther back, you can see more of it. If you're sitting right up close, sometimes you can't see anything. Like, where is it in the corner? Like, what's going on? Like, I just find, and then the cost of the games, like, go see the Leafs play now, it's ridiculous.
Is it?
It's hundreds of dollars for a ticket. Hundreds. Like, why? Go to a concert.
Oh wow.
Well, that could be their kind of concert, right?
This is true. Yep.
Well, and they're going to the school hockey games, so it's not as going to.
Oh yeah, I'd rather watch like juniors play than NHL. NHL is just sorry. I don't know. No.
And I can't follow I'm like, oh, he was offsides. And I'm like, what? Ooh. Same with soccer, though.
It's all the same to me.
Right.
No offense to anyone who can follow it or is interested. I just have never been able to. I dated a football player for a little bit in my teens, and I fell asleep at all his games. It's just like they're so boring.
It's different when football is like so many rules, right? Jeez. so much stoppage of play. I don't know. That's just me, but I find when you play, if you play the sport, it becomes more interesting to watch. Then you get a favorite team and stuff like that. That's just me personally.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
For sure.
I don't know why, but now I'm like the paint is coming up off my board when I'm just touching it.
Like with a rag?
No, with my brush, like it was just taking up parts of the whole painting. I'm gonna have to like start all over. It's like, it was weird. It's gunky.
Is it too much medium, Stacy?
Maybe.
Okay.
And then when I went to go in with like the thinner, it just like it was weird. It was just taking up spots. I barely.
That's the same thing. Same thing I got going on. I put way too much medium, and it's lifting it right in. So put more paint. I put more paint in another pile, and then I'm trying to do that, but
Yeah, I tried that too, but like when I go to put that fresh paint with a little bit on, it just takes the underlayer right up. And it was on a gesso board, a Liquitex gesso that I did.
It's smooth like masonite?
No, I didn't. It was a canvas panel.
Okay.
And then I tinted it with the that color with Liquitex. Well, then I just painted over that with the white Liquitex. I didn't like it.
Oh, okay.
So,
all right. May I ask, like, if everyone would just share for a moment? We can start with like Irene.
ugh. Are you sure?
Yes.
So this is pretty big, and I've got so much paint mixed up. So I'm only okay. Let me see. Okay.
That's gorgeous. Irene.
There's nothing here really yet. I don't know. And it's kind of like a bluey, blue green. I had to mix some Prussian blue in because the ultramarine that I have in the sienna was giving me like too much of a brown. So yeah, if I go in with the rag, because there's so much medium, like it was actually dripping. It was dripping off the side, like it was dripping. I had way too much medium. So I don't know.
Well, everything looks really good. You just have a feel for it. I mean, some people like it drippy at the beginning, but usually you're wiping it back. Like you're not letting it just sit and pool. So I think you're in good order. Everything looks great. You could use to neutralize some of the blue. You could also use a bit of orange love,
Okay.
like just to have, it looks like you have the color that I was thinking of with, like, don't be afraid of the warmth, you're kind of working a little bit more alla prima because you're using colors. So you can go slower and start to also think about temperature. It's just.
Okay. I don't know what I'm going to do with all of this paint, though. I guess I'll have to put it in a container or something. Yeah, I have these disposable palettes, so I'm trying to be like better with. Okay, I'm blending here. I've got the piles and that, but I don't know what to do with it now. Oh boy.
So a lot of people put. I mean, well, one, air, like, if you have something, you can put it in like a Tupperware container. Air is good.
Okay.
Or some people use the freezer.
Oh, the freezer?
Yeah, putting your palette in a freezer just slows it down. Like, I mean, I had white paint still on my palette wet from 2 weeks ago. So as long as, you know, you have a clump of it, it should save pretty good. Even if you left it out.
Okay.
Okay, Alec, let's check in with
Also,
you.
use too much medium and I've been sliding around.
But it looks great. It does. It looks really good. I think so in the center, even though I love the shape, it's a bit too light above that kind of centered rain cloud, the transition. So that's where, you know, using a dry, fluffier brush, just bring that that lighter value, knock it back a bit more in the middle. The left side looks great. The glow at the top looks great. I think the upper left, when you are looking at it, should be a bit darker, just compositionally, like, you know, and again, just wipe your brush off and just go into the paint straight up because you have enough medium on the surface to work into it. The glow is looking good. There's one cloud. I really like the shape of it, but it's near the center of where you can actually see the sun, the burst. It feels too dark.
Yeah, I know which one.
You know what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think now you're looking at those nuances, the middle values, and then keep squinting the overall shape. I think you could make some areas into bigger shapes. But that can also be done with color. So it's up to you and where you want to say, I'd like this more stylized, because right now you do have I actually like that swirl near the center. I do feel it's a bit too dark, but maybe more swirls even. Like if you wanted it to be more whimsical, more about the movement. And I think that would be fantastic.
Great.
Awesome. So it's feeling like really slick for everybody, but so far I don't see that being a problem. Just it's a different feeling, you know. And I'll tell you, if you have here, I'm gonna check in with you as well, Brenda. But I just want to, for what it's worth, we'll do this little test together, okay? I'm gonna come in with no medium at all, and this is black. Sorry, I had that tilted because of the glare. And so this is on gloss medium, because I have read that we were talking about this, that, you know, what kind of things, textures or mediums you can paint on. And I do feel that you want to have a matte surface. So I'm going to do this test to kind of see if there's any cracking or whatnot. But this is just paint with no medium right on, and it's got great coverage and it is stiffer. However, it is still slippery. So I'm going to dip my brush in for a medium and just see hardly any of it affects the paint and the way that it looks. But for me, I can feel it. It's like really slick and slidey. And then if I take a rag to move that around, well, yeah, that pretty much pulls it right up. So it's like, okay, what kind of touch do I need to have to work with something that is so slick? And see, and this, I guess, you know, think about all those oil paintings that you've seen, like especially the sort of English landscapes, and you see all of those brush strokes that they have. Well, I think that has a lot to do with using oil in general. So let's say we want something really high coverage. So I'm putting a little bit of medium in. And then I'll come in just with regular scoop of paint, and I'll work it into that so that I'm working medium in. I should be doing this with color, not black, but just to get like a nice gradient. So where you need it to have more coverage, just like raw paint. So what happens with raw paint in a rag? Well, guys, it pulls it back anyway. So that's maybe something to try.
Yeah, I'm finding it really depends how, like, how much paint I already have on the rag and how my touch is, like, with it.
What else was I going to try here? Oh, no, I think that's it. Okay. Brenda, do you want to spotlight here?
Okay. So, no, the light is a problem. The light is still a problem.
So it's a bit darker than what I'm seeing.
Yeah, a little. I mean, it's very strange how the light is.
Well,
I found this last time, didn't I? Maybe I turn it. Does that help? I don't know.
The lamp changed the temperature, but I would say even if your value is a bit darker, that it's still really good. I like the composition. Pardon me, it's soft enough. Like you've got really nice soft transitions and shapes.
Okay.
I guess I would just push in the larger areas more with details within in value.
Here it's too flat, not enough value contrast within it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
So
maybe here too.
Yeah, and even in the top, the very, very, very top part of the yellow, like the sun glow where the sun is, just in that very top area, like being a little bit more whimsical with, there's some really nice strokes in that area from the reference set, just to have like these.
Why is it so blurry too? Anyways.
Oh, it's, I hate to say it, it might be just a camera quality thing because you do have it, like I've always thought it's the light behind you, but you do look softer than some, like Alec is very sharp, and that's camera.
Okay.
So I wouldn't worry about that so much. So this little lovely area in here, there's like real wispies that you can
okay.
To exaggerate that every little area has some interest. But then really looking at you're at the stage now, Brenda, to like really look at what's within these big shapes.
Okay.
And you might want to look on your device at the original photo and not a printout, because the printout is fuzzy too. That could be, if everyone wants that, I can pull that up so you can let me know. I can see it. But Stacey, I want to check in with you. How is things going?
Oh, not good. I had to just put that to the side because I tried wiping it off and then coming back to it with paint without the solvent, and it took everything off. So I was gonna try starting on this little guy because it's a canvas pedal, and I've never painted on it before. So
that's cute. I like the size
to help me just get a feel for the materials, so I don't waste
your time wiping something off you spent time putting on. Yeah.
Right.
So your solvent it says solvent free. So is it solvent free solvent? Like what is the consistency of that product?
Very liquidy. It's very watery. It's solvent free thinner.
So that's what you want to use to start.
And then so it was taking off and it was making everything gummy.
Oh.
Like it was just like taking off a whole layer of paint, like all the way to the white. So that's why and it even did this one.
You just wiped it off.
Yeah. To see, to go in with a little bit of, okay, so this is black paint with just the thinner. Yeah. All right, so it seems to be working okay on this one.
Yeah.
But this is a gesso panel, so I didn't have to prepare it at all.
But it's smooth, right?
Oh yeah, it's very smooth.
Yeah. So that night you're okay. So that's about the surface more so. Cobra. I have to look up Cobra here. Okay. I think this is also a great opportunity, Stacey, for you to test water.
With the thinner?
No, just with the paints.
I did that. I did it with adding it to the medium, and I did not like it.
Okay.
I can add it straight to the paint.
Yeah, give that a shot. So I don't chemically understand solvent-free solvent like that. I mean, I know there is like there's a formula for how that's being created, but okay, salt, because a turpentine or any OMS, it is it's like alcohol. You add it to your paint and it is evaporating. That's why it's used, because that's why it's lean, right? It's not staying in the paint. So something that is feeling slick and actually like maybe not drying in the same way.
Well, I think it was because I was using yeah, so it seems like if you go over the strokes, it goes back and takes up the paint that was sitting down.
Look, that to me is also the surface. Like that's.
But it's happening on this one and the other surface.
Mm-hmm. And the other surface is textured.
The other surface, yeah, was textured with gesso, Liquitex gesso. So I wonder if you just have to put it down and let it dry.
No. You should you can mix. You can paint wet into wet.
All right.
Yeah. So it's either their mediums are a little bit different. Yeah, I'm gonna spot it.
I'm not sure if you can see it, but do you see that patch right there?
Yeah.
So like that, I was wiping it, like just spreading paint around, and that's stuck. Like it's, I guess, gummy. It's getting gummy.
Oh.
Do you see these dark pieces of paint?
It reminds me of glazing with acrylics, so that it lifts if it's partially dry.
Yeah, that's what it's doing. So maybe not use the solvent.
How about don't use any medium at all?
Won't it be too dark?
Here, get into some scumbling like this. So there's no medium in this, and I mean this is a regular oil color. It's not water soluble, but if you start to scumble, like this is definitely drier. But this is ultramarine. So if you, which is I'm pretty sure, yeah, that's transparent color. But yeah, I mean, this is more, thicker application, so it's darker. So it'd be like just scumbling it out. I would give that a shot.
Okay.
I mean, I can pull all. So this is on this was the tested gloss gel. I can pull this. Like if I went in here, I could pull it all out, but like I'm just using my rag to barely touch it. And if there's enough paint down, so let's just set aside the medium problem for now, and just let's look at how much paint you need. Putting it on in a pretty thick application, and then either using a brush or a rag to lift and scumble and see how that is. Because if this works on a glossy surface, there should be no gesso or other surface that is going to be any more of a problem at all.
And I'm wondering if these paints are better for like
Mixed media
or a la prima, like right off the bat, just get in with thicker layers, and then you can go in and, because they have a glazing medium, so then I could use glazing medium to glaze.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Let's just talk about this. You can, of course, keep painting or whatnot, but I'm going to put out some blue and burnt umber. That's what I have available. And just talk about alla prima for a moment, because it's on the table. I mean, there's going to be opportunity to do full-on projects, but ultramarine here. Okay. I'm just going to set this aside for now, and then pull out, okay, another board. Okay, I'm going to do the same one. So alla prima is kind of cool because you are not necessarily doing fat over lean when it comes to oil and how much oil you're using, but it should be thicker. So when you start, so I've got these two here. Sorry, my handles are sticky. Okay, so I'm going to make like a, yeah, that's nice. All right, so I'm going to come in. There's no medium. So the first layer is going to be thin because it's not about the mediums right now. It's just that if I want to pull in more paint in over top of this, and I definitely want to, it'll be too slippery regardless of how things dry. You want this layer to be thin just so that you can come in easily to bring in more paint. Because as soon as you put something really thick, then you want to bring something else in over top of it. It doesn't feel like a good way to start. Like that's a good way to end. And that follows fat over lean. This is thicker, it's fattier than this being leaner, regardless of medium. Now, I am going to so this is very slick. I just chose to use medium here. This is very slick, but I'm going to push that paint around. And Cobra is, a new thing for me, so I don't know. But as I put medium in here and as I bring in more paint, I'm just dipping into like the raw stuff because there's enough medium here. But this gesso is grabbing my paint color. Like, So
So
even
would that be good or bad?
it's great. Yeah. Like even though this is very slick, that had the alkyd medium, that as I bring in other colors, and I am seeing like that gesso through, because this is here. If I was to move this around, I am seeing the gesso. Let's move this light a little bit because the glare kind of messes up the value. Okay. So just to block in, so even if you're plein air painting, you still block in. And so this is, again, a lot of medium. And I am moving it around, looking at the tops of the clouds, scumbling, really getting that in there. I was reading, and I hope I remember this right. There is a difference between a glaze and a wash. And a wash is, in this stage, that you're using a leaner medium or your OMS, and it's that first thin layer. And then a glaze is that you're using like the fattier medium, and you're using it later. But you see how I haven't dipped in at all? Like I'm really just moving that paint around.
Right.
Then, yeah.
I think I'm going to have to prepare a gesso board because like this is super smooth. So it's just, you can't do that with this because you can't scumble it in because it's just moving, sliding.
In that, I would say work with, like use it still, but work with that you can see your strokes so distinctively, and they're juicy, and a little bit more minimal, and it'll dry quick. So within a day or two, you can go back in. I mean, I think smooth boards are really nice. Just show your brush strokes way more. The alternative is using canvas or something where those marks are interfered with the canvas weave.
Is the best. That's pretty cool.
Okay, so this brush.
Back in the middle. Nope.
Okay, coming in with the white and knowing that as I need to put down white, but that white is going to be moving into this gray to soften things out. And this is where I had a lot of medium, and it does feel different, and the strokes are more obvious. I'm just going to wipe off my brush. And I'm moving that paint around so that it's interesting, because you're still seeing all the nuance. And I will just say that I can pull all of this off like very, very, very easily. So if it feels like way too slippery, you can even let things just dry for an hour or two. You'd be surprised. Oil does get sticky. It's not that it just stays wet for a week. And that might also help, is just to like have a sense of, oh, you know what? I really like this when it's been sitting for an hour. But plein air, isn't actually a lot of this scumbling. So I will just show one area of what plein air or alla prima would look like. You would put in like your big shapes. You would be like this, but then it's very, very, very light that you start to come in, and you're actually putting down thick strokes. I want another color here.
And then I guess you can always like you go away and it's like, oh, okay, well that dried a little bit, and then you can wipe it off after, right?
Yeah.
Like with plein air, because yeah.
Oh, you mean when you get back to the studio, wipe it off?
Yeah. Like you captured the moment that you want, you're out there, and then it's like, oh, something else.
Well, so plein air is all about your brush strokes, right? So I'm not using any medium at all because of the kind of paint I have out feels like the right consistency for me. Okay, like this is Winsor Newton. It is in the middle. It feels really buttery. So I'm just scooping in, and I'm looking at where that warmth is. And you use a rag a lot to wipe your brush off, but you know, I'm drawing in the shapes with gestural strokes without it really being like specific. And then let's say the lighting's still good and you can, still go in and add some more nuance, like white. Where's my white? Then what you do is you scoop thicker. You're scooping thicker and thicker for alla prima. And again, having nothing to do with medium, just that this, I want to not necessarily work into the layers beneath.
You're just layering it on top. You're not digging in. You're just going on top. Yeah.
So alla prima, plein air is all about speed. And that's how you get really nice brush strokes and blends, because you don't have time to labor over them. I guess liquid makes sense. Like alkyd medium makes sense for painting quickly. But you don't need any medium at all, because you're not doing any more than, I'd say, 2 layers. You're going in scuffing thin first, moving that paint around to get a sense of your composition. And then you're coming in to refine color and value. So again, this is around the sun and there's warmth there. And that's sort of how you're approaching a mix. And I think for the feeling that, has been felt today with the slippery and slidey is that you'll probably enjoy just not using any bloody medium at all.
I'm just wondering, in terms of like adding whites or yellows, like right now, should we wait till this dries? Like in some areas I've got a lot of paint. So I don't know, maybe I should wait.
Well, because of just like, this focus being like a glazing, which is very, very specifically one layer after another, but you were mixing your colors, right? So yeah, I think you should go in.
I was going to do some whites on the tip, like just to, I see what you mean. So if you're just using the black and the white as the underpainting, I already have like 2 blues and a burnt sienna in there, and I'm afraid it's going to get muddy if I add anything else right now.
Totally get it.
Okay. Well, starting another project and not finishing 10.
You know that it's probably better to do too. I hope I suggested that in the emails, is that because adding a glaze on something as simple as clouds, where you're, happy with your underpainting, it's not going to take very long. So if you wanted to do something more alla prima on a cheap surface that you have, I think that'd be really good. And it's 12 after 12. So what if I said do it in 20 minutes?
I could go back and work on my trees.
Yeah.
I should go back and work on that.
Well, I would think you have enough to work on this one, though. If I was to say, Irene, you basically been working a bit more alla prima. So look at your temperature now and finish it by 12:30. Is that stressful?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm feeling I need to leave it. Maybe I'll show you. Maybe I'll take a picture of it and send it to you.
Next, yeah.
Yeah, and that's will be.
Mm-hmm.
The sliding is like I've been fighting that a lot too. And one thing I ended up doing that I've been enjoying is grabbing the rag, dipping it into the paint, and then pressing as opposed to rubbing.
Like press and lift.
Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, that seems to have allowed the paint to actually stay there instead of being moved away.
Mm-hmm.
Because I found it hard to actually put paint to darken areas because it's so slick.
Yeah, this is good. I think, it's all very variables, and it's really important to continuously try things and not get frustrated and give up. This is, to me, no different than the delicate nature of drawing with an eraser and removal. And like anytime I've taught charcoal drawing, that's been a hurdle. Like I can get really, really nuanced values that way because I don't even think about it, but there's something I'm familiar with, that my pressure, everything is to do with the pressure. Just as because I am spotlit here, alla prima would be, instead of trying to darken up a certain area, you would take your something that's in behind the value and you would foil it. So for example, I need this to be light here, so I'm just going to come and have that work into the next spot of paint that I have, and then I would leave that.
Okay.
And you see how messy that is close up, but when you're not close up, it looks like there's light in behind that. So that's another thing too, is when you take a picture, I love that you send it and share it with me, but I think you should also look at that picture and be like, oh, you know what? It is, the illusion is there. And it might feel like, oh, I can see the gesso or the surface, and it feels slick. Well, oil is slick.
I guess it's okay, like what you're doing right there, as long as your brush is really clean, right? Like
my brush ain't clean.
It's not, eh? And you're still, but yeah, okay. I'm just worried about things getting muddy, but you're just mixing it all and working it. Okay.
Now, this could be also an opportunity to look at what brushes you're using. So I I love two different kinds of brushes for two different reasons. But what is really working for me right now, and um, it could be the reference, it could be just, all the combination of variables, or it could be my mood, is the hog bristle. And that is close up there, so you can see I'm really pushing the brush strokes. Like I want that to be part of this whole deal. And again,
you've got,
yeah.
sorry.
No, ask away.
And you've got all paint there with oil, like that's there's no solvent in there.
No solvent, no liquid, no nothing. Okay. So I'm just dipping in. And so here's, there's a little warm glow that's in the center here. So I will I'm probably scooping more paint than we have been with the solvent. So I'm coming in and I want this to be lighter and coming in, and then I'll wipe my brush off, and then I will pat out the one side there so that it's a softer edge. Do a little cross hatch to break up. And that's looking at blending optically. That was just that area there. Mm-hmm. To break up those shapes, you choose which value. Do I go in lighter or darker? And the paint has to be thicker than what's underneath it for it not to lift, because you're kind of laying it down. So also think about how you're holding your brush in those areas there. I'm really like letting it just lay. Mm-hmm. And then I'm coming in and I'm just, I was like, to me, no different than the rag, actually. Because I'm barely touching it. Mm. So I think next week, what we've all done for this underpainting is great. I love this palette. I put out yellow ochre with like the ultramarine and brown. I thought that was really nice for this reference. But I think for next week, if you can have another board prepped, small is fine, whatever. Let's do this one, alla prima. You can change the colors, but this is a nice three huge shapes, and there's a lot of nuance in here, and we can continue to practice more alla prima. Because perhaps, glazing is a very specific thing. And maybe you don't like it. It's like, could be that easy. The pieces that I did in a class with Kathy Marlene Bailey, they were so, like, it was like an 8-week class, 10-week class or something like that. And we were not allowed to do more than one color at a time. But it was burnt sienna or burnt umber. Then it was yellow, because then you get your greens. And then it was blues to get your shadows. And then it was reds to get anything warm. And then you bounce back to yellows again. And it was absolutely slow. And at the very end, without any varnish at all, that painting looked like it was dripping. Like, it's so glossy. I don't have it anymore, so I can't show you, but I remember. And that had a lot to do with that each layer, with thinning it so that it was transparent and going slow, was just full of oil. You didn't even need to Demar varnish it. Like, it was just luscious. So how did she keep us entertained? It was not that big. I think it was like 11 by 14. I think it's about looking at your brush strokes and all of those things at once and going a little slower. It wasn't my cup of tea. I love the technique. I prefer alla prima. Like, I prefer plein air painting, getting it done quickly, less fuss. I prefer that. even back then, realistically, I was more interested in getting a feeling. And so glazing to me is like the reason why it's so beautiful is all of that softness, but it's more than 2 or 3 layers. So I don't know if you noticed that. That's perhaps just something to like observe. That I'm just going to grab this. I was going to call it an apple tree. It's a cherry blossom tree or some kind of shoot. What was that flower that it is? Who remembers the flower?
Camellia.
That's right. Thank you. But mine looks like an apple tree too. But do you see that? So, okay, what we did this pretty quick because we jumped into like more color in the 3rd week, right? But look at how I went pretty intense on the color, and I feel like it was it's a bit too dark. Like the sky, and then this part, and this I wanted to lighten up. But look at how wet it still looks. It's dry. So just to like allow yourself to appreciate it for what it is, and that it is going to be constantly slick. There are people who use odorless mineral spirits for the fat overlean, but also they like how it extends out. But they also like it dripping, and in the first layer, you're not going to see that as you go forward. So I think that's another thing to think about. Either you're applying really thick paint so that you can see it, or you're actually intending on having many layers. And so that first one, when it's lifting, when it feels like it's not opaque enough, that's actually good. That's not a problem. And you go do stuff in life, and then you come back, and then that second layer is probably giving you what you want. So that's just something to consider. Cobra is still a mystery to me, but I didn't know about the brand at all before you bought it, Stacey. So I really just don't know anything about Cobra at all.
I put it on thicker,
and
I'm liking it.
Okay.
I'm finding that I probably would have to paint, a couple times to let it dry and lay. I don't know can you see that?
Oh, that's really nice. I love small, quick studies like that.
Can you see the yellow, the slight yellow in it?
In the center? It's subtle, but I can see it.
So this was fun. I like
thicker was better. Great.
Yeah, I didn't have to worry about it. Like I wasn't worried about, is it too dark? Whatever. I could go in with the different values, just with the white, dark, and just paint.
Okay, so let's just talk about how. Let's say you set that aside. This will be the final. What I have to say, and then please. We have a couple minutes to discuss. We have 5 minutes to continue this discussion. But what you see that is on your board, Stacey, that is how thick it is right now. If next week or the week after you want to come in with more paint, you just have to go thicker.
Okay, thicker or
it's the same because if you have your oil paint is pigment plus oil, so you don't have to add anything. It's already fat. So if you have a thicker layer on top of something that is like that, even if it's not dry, be dry in the middle of some of those strokes that you have. It doesn't have to be super thick for it to take a while to dry, but that you would want it to be even thicker in the fat over lean, thick over lean. They're the same fat, the same as thick.
Okay.
So no matter how much oil you add or don't add, you still want thicker so that top layer takes longer to dry because all of the paintings you've seen with cracks on them is because they didn't follow that. And that goes for plein air, it goes for glazing, it doesn't matter. Though any cracks in an oil painting is literally because the top layers dried faster than the bottom ones.
So if you use glazing medium over it, it'll dry slower, right? The glazing dries slower, or is it, if it's a thin coat with glazing medium, it'll still dry faster?
Yes. And it seems these days that a lot of the mediums companies are making are adding OMS and alkyd in it, like that there's both. So drawing something that's going to dry faster, like that's where I was saying, if you're using liquid or a medium, you want to use it consistently through all the layers and more of it each time.
Okay. Yeah, so this was just paint with maybe a touch of drying medium. Like I just touched it with my brush, but I have glazing medium, which is fatter. So I could go in with glazing medium plus the paint, but not thin it out too much and paint over it.
Yes, and go in layers.
Okay.
It does get harder with different companies. I have to say at M. Graham, I love that they kept it simple. You have walnut medium, you have walnut alkyd. The alkyd dries faster. So you would use that first, and then you would use the regular oil in the last layers. Or not at all. Because if you just use paint out of the tube, even though the alkyd oil medium is fat, it's going to be thinner. So there's something to think about that as well. And what kind of painting medium is it? Brenda, whatever brands, I can't remember what it is now. It was Winsor Newton.
Yes, it is.
Artisan. That threw me for a loop, you know?
Well, yes and no. I do have that, but really what I've been using is this mixture of old oil paints that I was given, and it's some are Lucas and I can't, yeah, and and Graham and they're Winsor Newton, so it's sort of a mixture, and I've been using those because they're pure oil. And I'm thinking that sort of went better with what we were talking about than the water mixable.
Right.
And also they were cheap because they were free.
It's a good experience,
Yes.
that you have various brands, because they are all going to behave differently. The formula for pigment to binder is going to be different.
Yeah. Let me go get them in 2 seconds.
I have never used Lucas. I don't actually, I didn't know they made oil paint. I only knew Lucas watercolors. But I forget things too. Sometimes I miss art stores and it's just like there's like 40,000 products in an art store, it's a lot.
So the other make is Grumbacher.
Oh, I love Grumbacher.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can we see that so we know the label, what it looks like?
Yeah. It's nice.
Oh, Academy. I used to use their acrylics.
Well, does that mean they're professional grade, aren't they not? Or
No,
they not?
Academy is student quality.
Oh, okay. So I shouldn't really be using these.
You can. Of course you can.
Okay.
You can use them all together. Just know that you are not going to get as dense a pigment intensity. Yeah.
Well, that makes sense, being Academy, that it's student grade. And then this is
that's student as well.
Is it really?
Winsor Newton has Winton as their
Okay.
student. This is their professional.
Okay.
And then they also have Griffin Alkyd, which is quick dry.
Right. Right.
And then they have your artisan.
Yeah.
I'd love to see Lucas if you have the Lucas tube.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it was a student that I got them from, so it makes sense.
Well, there's nothing wrong with them. They're still like
No.
Winton. If you did a swatch test of Winsor Newton's Phthalo Blue and Winton and Professional, it's only going to matter if you're really extending it.
Oh, okay.
So if you're using, a pretty delicious brush stroke, you wouldn't, to the naked eye, wouldn't see any difference at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
I actually like the phthalo blues on there. I have a Liquitex basics of phthalo blue because it's so intense that it's a little easier to tame it.
That's such a good point. Yeah. Sometimes professional colors, you need to play extra to find out the ratio because they're not supposed to be used necessarily straight up. They're supposed to be mixed with something. I can't see how that applies so much more with oils, just simply because there's not a lot of mediums with oils. But with acrylics, I know that for a fact that Professional was meant to be like concentrated orange juice, and you would never drink that. Like nobody, not even a child or a student, or no. But I think that is where, because I used to be a snob and I was like, always get the best of the best. But there are places to use Professional. Student lines don't give you all the colors because of price. So, you could buy all of the range of a student line and then just buy in the Professional line those really, Indian yellow, quinacridones, things that you can't get in the student. And then you could build up your palette that way. So you could use Winton, Grumbacher Academy, but you're not going to get all of those, maybe like Rose Madder Lake, or some of the very specialized colors like indigo. You're not going to get that in Winton. So you can build up different levels. Yeah, no problem.
I'm going to run along.
And thanks for the conversation. If you have any questions, write them down because in 2 weeks we'll get together and I will, when I send this follow-up, I will write what I'm thinking about. Like that next week, we'll just do a little bit more en plein air style approach, but that will continue to, with the glazing that we did the underpainting for today, and have a really great couple weeks.
Okay.